Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. At this hour, the family of Clive and Bundy is celebrating. This is the barbecue the Bundy family is hosting right now near their Nevada ranch for some of the roughly 1,000 militiamen, gun rights advocates, and other supporters who helped the Bundy family stare down the federal government's attempt to collect Clive and Bundy's cattle, because Bundy has refused to pay federal grazing fees for 20 years and now owes the government about $1 million. After a tense standoff, the Bureau of Land Management backed down after Bundy supporters took up sniper positions and vowed to lay down their lives in support of the cause.
What we will do is we will stand and we will fight and we will die if the government tries to oppress the Bundys or tries to attack us. I'm surrounded by some of the best Americans that have ever been produced in this country, and I have told them they may not go home to their families, and they darn well know it. But you know what? Our freedom is worth fighting for and worth dying for. Would rather the other guys die trying to take it, but if that sacrifice needs to be made, by God, we'll make it.
Today, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada doubled down on his comments yesterday. Supporters of Clive and Bundy are, quote, domestic terrorists.
If there were ever an example of people who were domestic violent terrorist wannabes, these are the guys. And I think that we should call it that way. If they're patriots, we're in big trouble.
Clive and Bundy responded to the charges that his supporters are domestic terrorists today on Fox News.
We're calling to disarm the bureaucrats. In other words, take the guns away. That's the only thing we're really asking. And if that's a terrorist act, I guess maybe he's right.
At the Bundy barbecue today, his supporters embraced the term, many donning name tags with the word domestic terrorist written on them. For the people who are now celebrating the fact the federal government backed down from its attempt to enforce the law in the face of an armed resistance, the fight is far from over. A subset of prominent Bundy supporters, called the Oath Keepers, who describe themselves as guardians of the Republic, is encouraging members to come to the Bundy Ranch to serve as volunteers as part of an ongoing rotating watch, in case the federal government tries to enforce the law again. Something Harry Reid says will happen, but for now at least, the supporters of Clive and Bundy are celebrating their victory. And joining me now from that celebration near the Bundy Ranch in Nevada is State Republican Assemblywoman Michelle Fiore. Assemblywoman, why are you there near the Bundy Ranch tonight celebrating?
Questioning why the heck the federal government felt the need to come in armed to collect an unpaid bill. I mean, that was pretty bold and blatant. I mean, generally when our federal government comes in armed, we're expecting a bigger problem, maybe terrorists crossing the border, not an unpaid bill. So Nevada and Nevadans and people across America stood together and basically made a loud and clear statement that we will not allow governance by gunpoint ever. So
the objection, it sounds to me like, is the way that the law was being enforced in terms of the BLM being armed. But you do agree that the Bundys are in violation of the law. The court has found them in violation of the law. They do owe the government $1 million. Do you think Clive and Bundy should pay up?
Disagree. They do not owe the government $1 million. I was just on your point last week. Jeff, the host, said $1 million. I questioned if he saw the bill. He didn't see the bill. He was on What's Your Point a couple of days later with Harry Reid, and all of a sudden that went from $1 million to a couple $100,000. So in question, and right now, discovery on both sides, the Bundy sides, and I'll call it Harry Reid's side, because this is a very suspicious activity that he's imposed upon Nevadans. Is what the bill is actually. What is the bill? So no one has seen it. The media is going crazy. If he owes the bill, he's willing to pay it. He has. No,
he doesn't. That. But he said he actually says he's not willing to pay it. He says he does not recognize the authority of the federal government. I'm basically quoting him there. Do you agree with that stance? Do you recognize the authority of the federal government?
I recognize our federal government overstepped and overreached in our state of Nevada. That's what I recognize. I recognize we have a lot of issues to conclude. We also have the spotlight on Nevada right now, looking at the way BLM had zero stewardship in herding cattle, slaughtering cattle. That's what I'm recognizing. I'm recognizing what I've seen. This is my 6th day on the ground here in Bunkerville, and I'm recognizing that this was handled totally incompetent. I'm questioning the BLM, and I'm also going to request either a resignation or termination of the person that had ordered this to be done.
But that's a distinct question. I mean, I understand your point. You think that the way that the law has been enforced, the BLM has been heavy-handed. That's a distinct question from lines of legal authority. I'm just asking you a simple yes or no question. Do you recognize the authority of the federal government?
Oh, I recognize the authority that they've they believe that they have. I just question it.
So you agree with Cliven Bundy, the federal government does not have authority over the land, does not have authority over the taxpayers of Nevada?
No. Chris, don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying I agree with Cliven Bundy. What I'm saying is the way this was handled is really suspicious. When in the heck do we send our federal government with arms to collect a bill? When do we do that?
Well, there are a lot of people...
When have we ever done that? I mean, if we literally sent our federal government to the borders to secure them against terrorist crossing, hey, I got that. But they want to come here with arms because cows are grazing?
Here's the question, right?
Chris, I'm sorry. I think you're out of your mind.
The principle that people are watching here, I just want to give you a view from outside Bunkerville, right? The principle people are seeing is someone went to court, they fought in court, they lost and they lost and lost. We can agree on that.
Well, first of all,
whether you think the courts are right or not.
Understand, wait, let me explain something.
No,
the BLM in 1993, wait. Okay, they came up with these fees in 1993 to compensate damages, which they have not defined.
Right.
So, I
understand you believe,
Chris.
right.
Define the damages.
Here's what we have seen. We've seen court judgments.
Here's what
We've seen the government try to...
The government says, do as I say and not as I do.
We've seen the government try to collect on... see the government try to collect on a fee. I understand you think it was heavy-handed. But then what we've seen is 1,000 people, many of them armed...
If you owed the federal government money, Chris, do you want them coming to your house? Pointing guns at your wife and children? Is that okay with you?
No.
Because it's definitely not okay with me. It's not okay with Americans across the United States.
Is it okay with you if every rancher in the country stops paying their grazing fees?
No, it's not okay.
Well, that's the issue, right? I mean, this man is in violation of the law.
Here, you ready for this? Great. Lean the cows. Lean the property. Don't come here with guns and expect the American people not to fire back.
Okay, but let me ask you this, and I agree. I think we've actually found a point of agreement. I think you should lean the cows and the property, and I agree. A nonviolent resolution of this is great, but I would ask you this. Someone who finds himself in a situation in which a loved one is being deported, they have exhausted all of their legal remedies, and they decide to have 1,000 people show up at their house with guns to stare down members of DHS to extract that person for deportation. Would you be standing at the barricades with them as well?
Are we talking about cows or illegal immigration, Chris?
I'm talking about human beings. I'm talking about human beings, which seems to me even more important.
Human beings, thank God, that did not get slaughtered, but cows did get slaughtered out here.
What is going to happen to those cows later on?
You know, so are you saying it's okay to cruelly slaughter them because they're going to be they're raised for beef? Is that what you're saying, Chris?
No.
Because I hope you retract those words, because that's pretty sad, Chris.
No, don't put words in my mouth. I, of course, don't think that.
Well, what are you saying? Oh, okay. Well,
okay, thank you. Assemblywoman Michelle Fiore, thank you so much. Enjoy the barbecue.
Thanks.